A lot of us are under the impression that the rich and the famous people out there live a certain type of lifestyle. And honestly, it's perpetuated by a lot of Hollywood and the films that you see, seeing all these millionaires and people with money living these extravagant lifestyles. But I will tell you this, that's not the case, at least not in real life. In this video, I want to share with you what a real millionaire actually looks like. And I'm going to base this video off of true scientific data as well as my own personal experience. Now, keep in mind, at time of recording, I'm not a millionaire yet, but a lot of my friends are. And so I want to give you actual anecdotal evidence as well as the data, like real scientific data and experiments. And if this is the first time you're watching my channel, my name's Justin, you're wrong. I talk a lot about real estate, money, and self-development, and I also just document my journey as a young real estate investor and entrepreneur. So many of us have no idea about the inner workings of what a wealthy household looks like. And that's what I really wanted to share with you today. Your average millionaire, and I'm talking about the average, there are exceptions to this rule, but the average millionaire doesn't drive fancy cars or they don't have a massive house. They don't spend extravagantly. The average millionaire lives a very modest life. They spend wisely and they invest even more wisely. Let me give you an example. Recently, I just attended a mastermind in Las Vegas for a bunch of other real estate investors, and we had a lot of other people that were attending the event stay at my house. Some of these guys traveled all over the country, whether it was Fresno or Colorado or even Indiana. And some of these guys are actual millionaires. But when you meet them in person, you see how they dress, you see what they drive, you see their habits and their spending habits. They don't really spend that much. They're really frugal. Like, you would never guess that they're a millionaire just by looking at them. And as far as their spending habits, I immediately noticed that they didn't spend that much. I mean, first of all, they were living at my house for a couple days rent-free. And they did that so they didn't have to spend money on a hotel or an Airbnb or anything like that. And one of those nights during the event, some of our friends wanted to get together to buy dinner, but there was another event going on the same night. It was a meetup event. There was free food available. It was a real estate event. And they opted to go to that event instead to get the free food. I just wanted to share that piece and that story as anecdotal evidence of like, wow, it's really true. These are really what millionaires do. They earn some money. It doesn't even have to be a lot of money, but they earn some money, but they save a lot of it and they spend very wisely and they invest the rest. And how my millionaire friends acted, it really wasn't that far off of what I actually do myself. I remember in college, I used to go out to dinners with my friends, but I wouldn't eat with them. I would just hang out with them and I would literally order a water, just a water. Water's free. I would go out with them and I would eat beforehand, one, because I was trying to be healthy and fit and I was eating my protein heavy meals and stuff like that for bodybuilding. But then I'd also not order food at the restaurants to save money. And because of that, I accumulated enough money to buy my first rental property by the age of 21 when I was in college, as I was working like minimum wage jobs. So those are the real traits that a millionaire has, but don't just take it from me. That's just anecdotal evidence. That's just stuff that I've experienced myself, whether it was me or the friends and the people that I'm around. But I also wanted to share you real evidence, like real scientific data and studies that other people have done. And I have to give credit because a lot of the evidence I'm about to share comes from the book called Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. Amazing book, I highly recommend for you to read it. It's really just about millionaire habits. And it helps you understand who are the people out there that have actually accumulated wealth. During Thomas Stanley's research process, he interviewed over 500 millionaires face to face, and he gathered some data because of that. And what they found was that the average millionaire isn't living in places like Beverly Hills or all these upscale areas. They're living in modest neighborhoods, middle-class neighborhoods. They're probably your next door neighbor, and you have no idea because you would never expect it. Because what they found by interviewing these millionaires or prodigious accumulators of wealth versus under accumulators of wealth, they found that a lot of the under accumulators of wealth, so the people who are not millionaires, the people who are not building wealth, they found that they were the ones living in these fancy houses and fancy cars. They were the ones who were spending more or just as much as they earned. So the people that you would assume are actually rich are often not rich at all. And what's even funnier is that for this group of people, the underaccumulators of wealth, the people who were not accumulating wealth, the most common professions were doctors and lawyers. And here are the reasonings behind that. Just because these people make a lot of money does not mean that they're actually saving up for wealth. What the research found was that because doctors and lawyers typically have a lot of education education before they start making money, they have a much later start to building wealth. They have a much later start, they have more debt, and so that's one of the factors. But the other big factor is that the lifestyle that's typically associated with doctors and lawyers, they're typically high-end lifestyles. Usually doctors and lawyers, people assume that they're gonna be in the high-end neighborhoods, they're gonna have the nice cars, they're gonna have the big houses. People assume that, and because of that whole assumption and what we believe that they are in society, they do it. And so doctors and lawyers typically are in the high-end neighborhoods, have the fancy cars, but because of that, they're not really accumulating wealth. They're spending just as much as they save. And I'm not hating on doctors and lawyers. I love doctors and lawyers. They help me out for sure. But what I am saying is that typically, on average, they are not prodigious accumulators of wealth. They're under accumulators of wealth. So they're not gaining wealth as much as other professions, typically. And what I hope you take away from that is that you don't really need to make a lot of money in order to be a millionaire or to accumulate wealth. In fact, some of the most highly paid professions like doctors and lawyers are not big accumulators of wealth. And so don't think that millionaires are people who make a lot of money. They're just people who save a lot of money and who invest their money wisely. And look, after hearing all this information, I'm not saying that you should just be extremely frugal and not spend a dime on anything. What I am saying is that you can learn from the average millionaire and see what a lot of millionaires have in common, and then apply what they have done to achieve that into your own life and your spending and your financial decisions. Because if you apply some of the lessons from those millionaires into your own life, you're gonna be so much better off as far as accumulating wealth. And with all that being said, money wealth is not everything in life. I personally believe that you have to find a fine balance between being wealthy with money and wealthy with other aspects of your life. You have to enjoy your life at the same time as you're trying to accumulate wealth for the rest of your family or you or whoever you're trying to save your money for. Because life is precious, and honestly, we can just go in any moment of time. We can leave this earth. Also, if you're trying to be a prodigious accumulator of wealth and you're trying to grow your money, invest it wisely, I do have investing opportunities by raising money to fund my house flips. So if you want to fund one of my house flips and get a return on your money so that your money starts working for you, so that you can be a prodigious accumulator of wealth, DM me on Instagram the word LEND, and then my Instagram handle is Justin You're Wrong. And if you DM me that, we can start to discuss what best works for you as far as what kind of investment opportunities that I have available. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.